Bruce Sanford here with the Bass Fishing Underground podcast. Today, we've got one of my great friends and awesome Elite Series pro, Chad Pipkens. Chad, how are you today?
Ooh, I'm good, man. Thanks. Awesome. Elite Series there. That sounds nice. You need to be the introduction as Elite Series champion one of these times, but we're working on that.
Bassmaster Open champion, Oneida. Is that what it was? Is that right?
No, I was St. Clair. We should have had Oneida one of these times, but we're going to get another one. It's been a while, man. I'm due. It takes a lot to win nowadays.
Does it? A bunch of these young guys run around and catch fish on these live scopes and things. And
yeah, you got to be with it all 3 days, like not just like a half a day here. It needs to be 8 hours every day, and it needs to happen. Like, yeah, because somebody else is going to do it 24 hours in a row or 48 or whatever it is.
Yep. I've always admired you. You've busted your butt. I mean, absolutely, from like before you even were sniffing being a pro. I mean, you were a school teacher for a while. I mean, you busted it in college. You've reffed. I mean, tell us the Chad Pipkens story that a lot of people don't know from the early age and how you got into it, what you did, who you travel with, stuff like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's the biggest obstacle people have when you pursue professional fishing is time versus money. If you have the time to fish, typically you don't have the money. If you've got the money to fish, you don't have the time because you're working and run your business. So there's got to be a balance. And for me, the only way to get over that obstacle was to run your own business. So, or at least to be able to plan your own schedule. So starting out, I went into teaching. It's a good backup plan. Enjoyed it. I was able to sub a little bit, but that doesn't pay squat when you're substitute teaching. So I reffed hockey nights, weekends, literally all Friday night, Saturdays, Sundays, and would sub during the days. And then would also, do construction, landscape a little bit with my buddies. At the same time, that's when I started my painting company like 15 years ago, because I used to paint in college and didn't really like it, but it was good money. And a lot of people don't like it. That's why you get paid to do it. So I did some of that too. And then I even got licensed to do a little bit of retirement planning and life insurance sales, like while I was starting to fish. And, like full circle, all these are still tied in. I still run my painting company. And the guys I work with at Clear Strategy are the people I did retirement and life insurance stuff with. They're a business partner of mine for fishing. And then like through reffing a bunch of hockey and making these contacts, I met my title sponsor, the guy, Scott Weaver from Douglas J. Big hockey guy, had a bunch of teams, and he saw me on the ice literally every night because he played on like 3 or 4 teams. And I was always out there, and he was a goon in the penalty box a bunch. So I got to know him like that. And I mean, it's all these connections, they just keep happening throughout your life. And if you start too early, you don't have this network, you don't have these connections. I was able to work any day I wanted to. I worked 80 to 100 hours a week, like nonstop. And then I could take off anytime I wanted to fish because I was making my own schedule. It's a strain on friendships, relationships and stuff because you're gone. You miss a lot of stuff. And when you're home, you're hustling. But, not everybody on the Elite Series or these other tours has a silver platter. There's a couple that do, but more often than not, there's guys that, like myself, that have similar stories. And it's about like making the time and making the money and the sacrifices. Yeah. And I grew up fishing as a co-angler with Shad Skank and Wesley Strader. And I learned so much in 4 years with those guys. In the same time, I was fishing out of my boat, fishing, I think they're Toyota Series now, but it was Everstar's Toyota Series, Strand Series, whatever the heck they call them. Yep. It was that tour. I was doing that, and then the Bass Opens out of my boat. And that way I could work on my decision-making in my boat. And then I could fish the national level and really just get a feel for what's out there in the country, because I thought I knew so much when I first started. And I started traveling these other places. Like I'd never seen anything like it. I didn't know what this technique or that technique was because I didn't have the college fishing and the high school fishing, which is a great way to network now. So, I did the co-angler route, learned a bunch, and was kind of ready to fish. My work stuff was setting up. The paint company was rolling. I was reffing, making a little bit of money, and thought like, I had the chance to do it. And my big thing was, all right, I'm ready, but I'm a gambler, but I don't want to go, into the red. But I'll put everything I have out there. I don't want to ever, have my family. If I had a wife or kids, I don't want to put anybody else's, future in jeopardy. But mine, I lived at home till I was like 29 for a reason, because I was ready to do that. At the time I had a rental house, but I still lived at home. And that's another thing I do now. I still dabble in, I have some rental properties and hustle and try to make some income when I'm not fishing.
It's so interesting because when we met, I don't even know what year we met, but I know.
When I got locked in the bathroom at Oneida, dude, you remember literally the indoor thing broke and I'm like sending an SOS thing on my truck key.
Yeah. So I had a guy with me. I was talking to a guy and like, I'm not very observant, like at all. Like that's probably why I suck at fishing, right? Like I don't like pay attention around me. Like I just kind of like go bulldoze my way through where I'm going. This guy's like, I think somebody's locked in the bathroom. I looked at him, I'm like, huh? Like what? What?
And
He's
those of
like,
you who are watching, you think I'm
somebody's like
kidding?
beeping.
I was beeping.
Yes.
They couldn't even get it undone. The door
Yep.
broke, and they
Yep.
had to go through this back like electrical closet. I had to climb through the ceiling and come out an electrical closet.
Yeah, he went through like an air vent thing. I had
Yeah,
to
it
go
was
get
pretty.
like tools out of my boat. It's a good thing I had a Phillips head and a flathead, because if not, Chad Pipkins would still be locked in a nice
Yeah,
bathroom
I'd be
20,
bad
15
deal.
years later.
So, yeah, that's, I mean, stupid things. That's how we met. Now we still, we get to hang out, work together, like all these little connections. And like the guys that I traveled, I fished one co-angler event and met Shad Skank. And that's who like ended up kind of being my mentor. And he was the one that always like, you got to work, you got to make money, you got to do this. And that guy, great fisherman, and didn't fish as much as he could have because he was hustling with work. But there's a fine balance, and he was more in the work. I want to be a little bit more on the fishing side down the road, but I still established my working base, and that's what he did. And man, like he always said, it's not a question of if, it's just when. And I was ready like year 2, year 1. I thought I was, but I still wanted to get the finance stuff set up. And that last year I told him, I'm like, dude, I'll pick 2 events. I'll be your co-angler for those 2. But outside of that, I need to stay home, need to make money, work on my business so I can be ready to fish the tour next year. And that year, like everything just, when it's ready to happen, it happens.
And what happened on your last FLW event?
I almost won 2 of the events. I only picked 2. I should have won the one, but I lost a couple fish, finished 6th. And then my last co-angler event, I won. Like last one I ever was going to fish, trying to set up money for next year. I won that tournament. I caught like a damn 6-pounder on Beaver Lake. Like, it doesn't happen.
There's 4 of them that swim.
Yeah, I got one of them suckers. So it was like, it's just meant to be. I think I won like 25 grand at that time with a Ranger bonus. And then I'm like, okay, I got my entry fees, some of that for the FLW tour. And the FLW tour opened that same year, came to Detroit River. I finished 3rd in that, won like 28,000. I'm like, this is more money than I've ever seen my entire life. And then on top of that year in the Opens, I went out, it was like my 2nd year in the Opens, and I won the points. So like I was Angler of the Year, and I got my invite for the Elite Series. And I'm like, I had never even thought about fishing Bassmaster at the time because I had been working with FLW and stuff, both great circuits, but I've always watched Bassmaster. That's always been a dream. That's where in the end I would love to be. I just never thought it could happen yet. But Bass gave us that route. And at the time, like the money was there, and it was just like, let's roll. I live at home with my mom and dad.
We're throwing it our head, baby.
I got my entry fees paid for next year. If I don't cash a check, I'll just be back, kind of where I was before. I was fortunate to, cash a couple checks, get involved with the Douglas J guy because he knew me that year, and we sat down and kind of put a plan together. And, the first few years it worked because I lived at home and because I hustled and had a good head start with money, but I didn't go out and set the world on fire. It took a few years to kind of get sponsor stuffs rolling and, make a couple classics and that kind of stuff. And now I feel like the last 3 or 4 years, I could finally say, like, I make a living fishing. I still do the painting thing a little bit and have rentals, but I make a living fishing and can support my family.
Diversification, right? In anything in business, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, doctor, whatever.
But it takes time. You've got to build your business.
It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah, that's right. So it's been fun to watch you, in my opinion, just do that, because I don't think people understand how hard you work. And like, I remember when I was young and I met you, we would talk, a couple times a month, and like you would motivate me to push and do more. So like when I was young doing it, I was guiding some in Alabama. I was pressure washing houses. I was anything I could do to make money, then to go fish the Bass Opens or whatever it is, I would do to go do it. So
and that's how it starts. I mean, you see like I speak to college guys a lot and high school guys, and it starts with the drive to fish, but you have to be willing to do everything else. Like so many people are so quick to judge and look like, oh, look at that nice boat and that nice truck. If I only had that, I didn't have that. Like you have to do what you don't want to do to get that.
2006 Ranger Z20, by God.
Yeah, I mean, I started the first boat I bought was a repo. Me and my brother like gutted it and put some stuff on it, and that was the first boat I ever had. And it takes time, and you got to do the dirty work.
I think the dirty work of fishing is. It's easy to look at Chad Pipkens, the Elite Series angler on TV, like, wow, he crushed him at Pickwick or what, wherever it is.
That's the reward. People like that is the reward. They don't actually see the work.
That's not the work.
The tournament is the reward. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Other time you go out like I did at the last Open there, and you have a practice, you're shaking off fish. I found some fish in the river at the St. Lawrence. The morning before the tournament started, I could have caught 25 or 26 pounds, just shaking them off. So I'm like, I roll there and they freaking move. and they didn't bite. And you're there, you're like, I should have jacked and filleted every one of you guys.
I should have just thrown them on the bank.
Yeah, just like, but that's part of the game. Like, you got to learn to make the decisions, and if you keep working hard, more often than not, you're gonna catch those breaks, and good things are gonna happen. But you get burned once in a while too, and you're out there idling for 30 hours. Like, oh, how was your vacation practicing? I'm like, I was in a boat for 40 hours. I put 35 hours on my engine, and I'd stand up to fish for 5 minutes at a time, because you get bit on your first and second cast, and then you got to leave and hope they're there the next day.
Yeah.
Part of the game.
No, I think it's awesome. It's been so awesome watching you grow and develop and do that. What does the future hold? I mean, I assume, you stayed with bass when that whole hoopla happened.
Holy W!
Yeah. A W.
Dude, I'm excited about it, man. I feel like obviously a lot of things.
Have they announced the schedule yet for you guys for next year?
Yeah. I don't have it in front of me, but we go back to the St. Lawrence, which I'm excited about. We go to Oahe again out west. We go to Mississippi River. We're down in Florida.
South Dakota.
I'm sorry?
South Dakota.
Yeah, and that's just a big, vast place. Like those, I love when we go to new places where you got to put the work in. The best thing Bass ever did was 4 years ago. And I've had my best 4 years since then, and which it makes sense, because they got rid of the information rule. Used to be, you could get help until a month, then you couldn't. And now, as soon as they announce the schedule, you can't get any help. And I absolutely love it. It forces you to go out and do your own work, put your time in. And like, I never like to get a lot of help, but the problem is some guys do, and some guys are very good at networking. And it's kind of behind the scenes. A lot of people don't see that. Well, if you're a big name and you have some of the best contacts and you're one of the best fishermen in the world, if people put you around the best places already, you're going to figure them out pretty damn easy, versus starting from scratch. Like, some of the new, like us, it's hard to, jump over that learning curve, but now it's just a much more even playing field. And you've seen some guys excel and some guys decline. And it's because of that, you got to go out and find your own fish and make adjustments. And if you're the best in the world, you should be doing your own deal out here. You should not be getting help here. You should be out there putting the work in. And that's what it's about. I mean, you can still go out and learn. And, if you got other places that aren't on your schedule and you've got friends that are there, yeah, that's how you learn. You go to those places, they show you a couple deep brush piles, you figure out how to catch them here, and you can take that to another place. And that's how you grow as an angler, but you don't need to be getting dots and waypoints when you're going to your tournament,
So okay. So if you don't want to talk about it, just say pass. But I know there's a lot of groups of like the Johnson brothers. They share everything, winning, stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, if you do that with other people and hang out and, talk, and like, how much info do you share? And do you think it's a problem? We had another elite guy that was kind of talking about that and saying it's getting pushed to the max right now. When you get 3, 4, 5 guys in a group that share so much information, do you think that's going to be a new rule coming down the pipe? Do you think is it a problem, or what? I mean, what's your thought?
I hope they never do that, because that ruins part of, like, you're on the road so much by yourself, and it's hard to be away from family, be away from friends. The last thing you want is to be in a cabin with 3 or 4 people who all love to fish, and you can't talk to them. I mean, it would just make it a miserable job. I mean, it really would. And so, like, some guys are better at networking with their group than others, because you got to have people you trust. Like I said, I'm so glad we can't talk to people that are not in the tournament, but I hope that we're always allowed to talk to our competitors, just because, like, you've got your group of 2 or 3, and, I travel with a few people, and I share general info, with like Paquette and Polnick and Card, Perch a little bit. And like, so we talk. You're not sharing waypoints, but you're out there on the water. You might talk to them once a day, once every 2 or 3 days during practice, just so you're not missing something. Because you go to these big places and you can't do everything. Like, I love to do what I do, but because of that, I might miss something really easy. So maybe you're talking with your buddy, like, oh, dude, you're missing. They're way up shallow in the bushes. Well, I hate being in the bushes anyway. I don't like to be shallow.
You ain't even gonna look.
Yeah, but maybe there's one time, like, I'm like, if that's stupid easy, maybe I'll go check it out. You know what I mean? So it's like, those deals, it's important to talk with people you trust, but you got to make sure it's a 2-way street. And Corey and Chris, I mean, when they're sharing bank accounts, because I mean, that's public, they talk about, they're a team, they fish together and they do a great job. They share info. If one guy's got a chance to win, the other guy might slide off and give that stuff there. But unless you're with guys that are all finding and similar stuff and putting in the work and bringing to the table what you're bringing, there's other groups that do that too, with 3 or 4 guys. And the problem is then they spread out, and instead of a couple guys cashing a check, they split stuff up and nobody does any good. You don't hear about those guys because they're not the ones that, people are talking about. So it's like, in the end of the day, I still feel like the same guys
stay out of it fast.
Yeah, the guys that would be struggling probably would struggle, And the guys that would excel, they're excelling and sharing stuff, just like with this new technology, with the forward facing sonar and these types of things. The same guys are still winning the tournaments. Like that hasn't changed. It's raising the bar, and now we're catching more fish than we ever have in all these different circumstances. It's still the same guys winning, whether you're getting information, whether you're using this technology. It's, who's bringing, stepping up their game, really.
Yeah. Yep. I like it.
I like to talk, so I hope we get to talk to our buddies, because that would be
nice. I feel the same. Just thinking, it's like friends talking on the phone, and it's like I was going to the St. Lawrence River, and you're like, I can't talk about it. It's like shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things. I just want to talk to my buddy that's a northern smallmouth guy. So it's like, never mind.
Yeah, at least we can talk. But it just, like, if you're coming back from an event, it wouldn't look good, because you might say something like, oh dang, I know what he's talking about. And then it can trigger things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to be in that position when you're staying in a house with your friends.
With somebody that I never thought in that perspective, but that'd be awful. Like, truly, because it's, you nailed it on the head. That they're your family.
Yeah,
8 and 12 weeks out of the year.
Creates, because already, like, different people have different views on rules, and so it creates gray areas. So the less of gray area you can have. So right now, you can't talk to other people about the fishing tournament. You can talk to your people that are fishing the tournament. It's a lot more black and white, versus if they say, well, you can't share general stuff, but you can share this, and you get guys in the house that view general stuff as anything about a waypoint. It makes it easier to. It's more black and white now. So I think it's right.
Yep. You're looking at the schedule, things like that. What do you do? How do you prep for them, and how do you prepare for them? How do you, do you set your boat up different for some of these events? I mean, like when you go to the South Dakota, that's a whole different, if you go to Guntersville and you've been to Guntersville 100 times, you kind of know what you're doing. It is what it is.
Yeah.
When you go to some of these weird ones, what do you do? And does it change from a Guntersville practice to a South Dakota practice where you've never been? What's your
plan? It does. Typically, like, if you see with the Elite Series, and why I think it's such a high pedestal of fishing, because the weights go up a lot, and it's because it's the way you practice. Like, if you're at a 1-day tournament, you're pretty much only going to fish where you got bites. You're not trying to explore, expand, and learn new things as the tournament progresses, but that's how you win tournaments. So it's like, nowadays, when you go to these new places, I'll do some map study. And if it's a big, like, I've been to Hawaii, I wish I would have got up there this year, just kind of had too many things going on, because we're launching, it's like 80 miles further. So it's basically like a whole different lake. So I know roughly like how that place fishes. So I feel like in 3 days, if I pick a section, I can find what I need to do well. But, other times we go to these new lakes, I really want to see them before I go there, because the big thing is I want to learn the lake. In the ride around, like, for 2 days, don't really fish at all. Just, where's the grass, where's the rock, where's this at? So that way, when I come back, I can figure out, I can learn the fish. And I did that at Pickwick. Like, I went and broke my boat in on the way down to Florida. I drove for like a day and a half, put like 10 hours on my boat, figured out where grass was, where this was. And it was one of those, like, okay, we're going to be there in March. It's going to be pre-spawn. I want the best, greenest grass, ditches leading to spawning flats. This 5-mile section, this is where I'm going to spend all of my time. It's a giant lake. I don't care what there. I know the right fish are going to live here somewhere. And grass fishing, you can't graph them. You got to fish for them. It takes longer. So I put my time in there, and, it had a really good tournament.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. How do you guess like a weight or something? You know what I mean? Like, is it research? I feel like there's a knack to tournament fishing to say the cut's going to be here, the 12 cut's going to be here, the check cut's going to be here. You guess that all you elite guys, you guys know, you guys are always within a really close tolerance typically.
Yeah. And it's interesting. That's what my wife always, well, how do you know what? I'm like, this is what this is going to be. And I was wrong this open, because we smashed them at the open. I did not think
I looked at the day when results and I just turned it off. I was like
92nd place. But 7 out of 8 or 9 events, you're going to be in the right ballpark. And it's just because if you're, fishing at the best of your ability, and you talk to 2 or 3 guys, and you go out there for 3 days, you know if it's easy, if it's hard, like the general size of the fish. So between 2 or 3 people, you're going to get a pretty good gauge on what the fishery has to offer. And that does help, because what you're looking for. And that's one of those reasons too. Like, you talk to some guys, I think Hackney said it once when we got Thousand Islands, like, he doesn't talk to anybody. So he's up there and catching the one year, it only took like 29 pounds to get a check, because the smallmouth fishing was awful and the largemouth fishing was good. Well, the next year smallmouth is off the chart, and Hackney's up in the grass catching 16 and a half, 17 and a half pounds, like, not bad. Well, it took like 18 a day to get a check. And
Yeah.
he said something in one of his articles, like, I don't talk to anybody. I had no idea that it was that good. And that, that's one of the downfalls of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
I love it. And I'm ready to win one of these damn things. It's, I've come close. I feel like I've connected the dots with the opens. And,
man, I caught Pickwick this year. I was like, oh my gosh, here he goes.
Yeah, if we would have started, I think one day earlier, I would have got it done, because they were so piled in there that Saturday, I think they would have been even more ridiculous. On Friday, it took a minute to figure it out, and I was missing a lot of them. And then I didn't really realize, like, my bites were getting cut in half every day. I thought that the conditions were different because it started to get post frontal. I thought that was the big change. And so I really thought, like, me or Corey going out fishing a similar area, like one of us was going to catch 25 to 27 pounds and win. And in reality, those fish, the condition wasn't getting worse. The fish were leaving and they were going to the bank. And I thought they would slide back from where we were catching them back to where they were. Instead, they were like, we're ready. We're going to the bank. Yeah. And lesson learned.
Lesson learned. What else? What do you want people to know? Any thoughts coming up? Family? What's up with your family?
Family's good, man. Well, I got a wild baby. She doesn't sleep or crap, but she likes to travel, which is good, man. She's a party baby. So I'm guessing she gets that from me. She's going to work hard. We got lots of things to do. She's got, like, babies to play with, water puddles to jump in, and all that good stuff. So yeah, life is good with babies and wife.
You built a house, what, not long ago?
Yeah, we've been here a year and a half. I've never, fished full time. Oddly enough, my next year is going to be my 10th season on the Elite Series, which is insane.
That is.
But I've never had a garage. I've never put a boat in a garage. I used to at my parents' house back in the day, and like at my last house, there was no space, but we would sell our boat in like October, November, get a new boat in January, and then basically keep it at my dealer or the rigging place for a month, and then go fish. So it's like I finally have a garage to work on stuff. Finally. And then COVID hit, and I couldn't even do the tackle last year because we fished till Christmas.
I've always said that on the Elite, like, as hard as you work in what you do, like, time on the water for you, like, I feel like if people, it's just hilarious. Like, your boat isn't at the house. You're not sitting at the, half the Elite seems like they live at Gunnersville. Like, that's not you at all. Like, your boat's over here, your gear's in your basement, you're up here, and it's like, it's just.
It's gotten a little better. Like, it's at least all in my house and the garage, like the boat's there. I can tinker and do stuff. I feel like I could do a little better if I did. But the main thing is getting on the water, making those decisions. I need to fish a little bit more. I know that. I have, last few years I've done the opens. We switched to the Easterns, and we started in Florida. That's helped kind of kick off the season. Because, like, right now I'm done. I don't have a tournament until February, and it's not good to not make those decisions that long. So I would love, if there's no open down in Florida beforehand, I'd love to fish a toad, a series, or whatever it is, just to get back in the groove, practice, and decision making, because that makes a big difference.
Yeah. That's something that you've always talked about. I think Shad probably taught you a lot of that. Is the decisions on the water in the tournament. It doesn't really matter what led up to it. At the end of the day, when you're there,
like when you go to the opens, like you talk to guys, I know the guys that are, when they're having a good practice, they're going to catch them. I also know if you fish for 6 to 8 days, you're bound to run into fish at some point. If you're pretty well versed in fishing, you're going to
quit mouthing, Chad.
I'm not talking about you. I'm not even knocking anybody. I'm just talking about there's a difference between catching them in if you got to make a run for an hour, this or that, and you've got 6 hours to catch these fish versus when you're dinking around in practice for 12 to 14 hours a day. Like, it's a big difference. And like I said, I'm St. Lawrence. I cashed a lot of checks there, won a lot of money there. Like, I didn't get it done the first day. It was hard with the co-angler adjusting. I missed some good ones, and he caught some big ones because of that. But it was one of those, like, I should have been able to figure it out and put it together. But I did the second day, went out and caught 22 pounds, had some fun. But like, again, you got to do it every day.
Yep. So, how did you end up in that tournament? I never even looked at the results.
Like 60th or something. But like, it just felt good to go out. I actually fished the lake the second day. I caught him cranking, and it was fun. I mean, I could have had maybe 23 and a half or something if I'd have got a couple of the other ones in. But like, I had a blast. I called the 18, 19-pound bag, and it was.
When you say cranking, like, are you throwing like DD22s deep, or is it like?
I throw a DC 300.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And they swallow that thing. It was fun. So I learned. I'm hoping.
I never saw under like 35 foot of water when I was out there. So I don't know how you get them to come up that far on a crankbait.
You don't. You just throw it and run into them, and they just swallow it. It's awesome. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it, Chad. Hopefully hopefully our guests like this. We've had a lot of requests for some of this northern stuff, just time of year, things like that. So I think it's a good fit for you to come on. So I appreciate it. We'll probably pester you. Maybe this winter we'll get a preseason. Maybe we'll get a preseason rundown from you later.
No problem, man. Happy to help out. And always look forward to talking fishing in the winter because it gets cold up here.
All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Bass Fishing Underground. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Go check out Chad. He's got all sorts of social media platforms. He'd love to have you follow him too. If you want to see him, check him out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.